Yo, 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 this is Trading Trenches, your number one podcast for trading news and views, helping you navigate the financial markets. Today is the 1st of February 2021. It's your boy Nathan,
It's your boy Warren.
and today we're here to discuss a silver lining.
The silver lining, people. Now, over the weekend, you may have experienced in your personal portfolio some losses, which I have, and you're probably thinking, where can I diversify my options? Now, today's episode, we're going to expand your mindset and just explore what avenues you would potentially go down. And we're going to cover this episode primarily on silver, the components, the mining, and the whole market in general. Now, great. So let's get into it. So the silver market cap currently stands at $1.7 trillion with $26 an ounce. The highest price it's ever reached is $50, and it has now experienced a fantastic bull run, or so we predict. Silver is used for refrigerators, microwaves, healthcare, such as prosthetic limbs, treating wounds and infections, solar energy, such as solar panels. An interesting fact, 20 grams of silver is used in an average solar panel. So silver is used for our everyday purposes. It's not primarily used for jewelry, which once upon a time I thought that that's all it was good for, or a store of value. So we're going to go into today's episode in line with the following episode of where we spoke about GameStop and their tremendous uprise. So Nathan, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, so I guess what we're looking at here is silver as an investment, and the potential of the price moving upwards in the coming months. As Warren, you mentioned, there's a number of use cases for silver. So about 50% of all the silver that is mined goes towards industrial uses, about 19% goes for investment, and then we've got about 20% going towards jewelry, and then about 10% of that going towards solar or renewable energy sources. So that's kind of the market as a whole. As it relates to kind of GME and I guess what people are saying could be a silver squeeze, what we've seen over the weekend is a number of bullion banks. So these are banks that kind of allow people to buy and sell physical metal and physical gold and physical silver. They've been running out of silver over the weekend. And one of the reasons for this is that, as we spoke in our last episode, where there was this GME squeeze, now these same kind of investors are looking at squeezing the silver market by buying physical silver.
Okay. So basically the Reddit bandits, as we
Yeah,
called it in our last episode,
or the
have
GameStop
now,
bandits. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, the GameStop bandits have now converted to the silver market. Is that what you're
yeah,
saying?
yeah, yeah. That's it. And it's another kind of heavily shorted market, and one that has a lot of potential to the upside. Is what they're kind of identifying, these kind of opportunities that they can manipulate and kind of hone in on.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. So what so we were speaking just before the pods and we were talking about the pre-market activity.
Yeah,
Would you like to explore that?
it's the pre-market activity. Yeah, so I mean, last week, silver was trading at around about the 26-27 dollar mark, um, and then this week we've seen already kind of a 10% bump in prices, so we're
Okay.
just under the $30 mark, and it's quite likely. that we'll see prices go through that $30 mark as the week goes by, because a lot of people now are kind of going out and they're buying physical silver, which is
Mhm.
putting pressure on prices because there's not a lot of silver out there, in all honesty, and the prices are relatively low.
So my next question would be, why? What is this trend? Why are people just all of a
Yeah.
sudden going out and buying physical silver?
Yeah, so I mean, what we've seen, if we compare it to GME quickly, GME had 180% short interest. So people were selling, no, it's not 180, 140% short interest. So these guys identified that there were more sellers than the market itself. So 140%. Now, with the silver market, you have to bear in mind that there's a paper market and then there's a physical market. So the
Okay.
paper market is actually 25 times larger than the physical
Mhm.
market. So that
Yeah.
what I mean is the value of the physical market is 25 times smaller. So if you take all the physical silver out the system, which I think is like their kind of plan, it then pushes a lot of pressure on the paper market.
Okay.
And possibly there's at least for every paper claim, there's 25 paper claims for every actual 1 ounce of silver. So you've got this 25 to 1. And so if you drive up the price of silver, then potentially the price of paper could increase 25 times as much, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I follow you.
Yeah.
I follow you. Yeah. So right now, um, I just want to compare the other commodities within silver and
Yeah.
gold and
Yeah.
copper. So
Yeah.
my next question would be, what is the gold to silver ratio
Yeah.
in terms of what's been pushed out? How much do they have in
Mm,
the actual world, I suppose?
yeah.
And yeah, just really explore those comparables, please.
Yeah, no, sure. So I guess as you said earlier in the on the pod, the total silver out there is what, like 1.7 trillion we mentioned.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's this concept, gold to silver ratio, and what that looks at is how many ounces of silver does it take to buy 1 ounce of gold. Yeah.
Okay.
So like
Hmm.
1 ounce of silver is, as we said, about $30. An ounce of gold is just under $2,000, let's call it. So that ratio means that for every ounce of silver, for every ounce of gold, sorry, you need, let's say, around 70 ounces of silver. So if I had 70 ounces of silver, I could trade it for 1 ounce of gold. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, like in the world, when you go mining and stuff, when you find silver in the earth, the ratio is closer to 1 to 8. So for every ounce of gold in the earth, there's about 8 ounces of silver. So what
Okay.
a lot of these speculators are saying is, well, if it's 1 to 8 in the world, surely the price should be closer to 1 to 8 in terms of real
Mm,
scarcity. So
mm.
like they're pushing on that as well to kind of see if they can use that mismatch. It's like it's basically been mispriced.
Right.
And
Okay.
they're trying to see if they can push it closer to 1 to 8 in terms of the actual gold to silver ratio for price, and they're trying to see if they can push the paper market, which is 25 to 1. So there's a lot of kind of mismatches and distortions in price that they're trying to see if they can get closer to reality by pulling all the silver off the market. And it's a very interesting tactic, very interesting tactic, and I think they could have some success. Um, and we'll have to wait and see, but likely I'd say prices in silver could at least go to $50, if not $100, within the
And what
next
is it?
few months.
And what is it at now?
So we're at the $30 mark, let's call it. So that's at least a 3x from here.
A 3x move.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that sounds pretty exciting. Hope you're right. So, what you're basically what I get from that is that it seems like it's a short squeeze movement. So can you just go into more detail in terms of what is the short squeeze in relation to silver?
Yeah, so the short squeeze is another reason that it kind of all compounds onto why this is potentially a very good opportunity, because you have to think of it like this. If there's GME and we were saying, okay, there's 140% short interest, if we squeeze that out, then individuals that are selling it are going to have to buy it back, and they've sold more than exists, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So there's more paper claims than the real thing. Silver is exactly the same, but it's on an even bigger scale, but it's an even bigger market. So where we said it was like 140% for GME, that's like 1.4. What I'm
Yeah.
saying to you now is that silver is 25 times. So that's more like 2,500% more. So it's an even bigger squeeze. And if they can pull it off, wow, it's going to move, and it's going to move quickly.
So pre-market was what on
So
today?
pre-market was 25, 26, $27, somewhere around. Let's say call it $27 pre-market. Um,
Mm,
but now it's pumped, sorry, over the weekend, but now it's closer to $30. But something that we're not really talking about, these are the paper prices. If you go to a
mm,
bullion dealer and you say, I want physical, and we can get this up now, if you demand for physical delivery in person, they're not going to
yeah.
charge you $30. It's probably going to be a premium of at least 10%. So we're
Yeah.
already seeing a divergence between the paper and the physical. And if that gets wider and wider, eventually it's going to start putting a lot of pressure on these paper shorts. And when I say paper
Hmm.
shorts, people that are selling the paper,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then they
But
get squeezed out. And when they get squeezed out, they have to buy 25 times the actual market. So yeah.
wow, that's a lot of upside potential there, I think. And the reason why I like it in comparison to the GameStop craze is that you're buying silver, um, and it's actually a worth of value,
Mm,
whereas the GameStop was really like a meme, like you said in the last
yeah,
episode, like a
yeah,
trend.
yeah,
The company itself isn't value isn't valuable to the degree of the share market price, whereas silver, I believe, is undervalued right
yeah.
now.
Yeah,
Would you agree?
yeah, and then you got to think of, like, look at all the manipulation that we've seen with GME, right? The brokers basically said you can't buy this anymore.
Yeah,
So if you can't buy
yeah,
anything anymore and you can only sell it, what do you think is going to happen to the price? But the price has still stayed strong, even though they've clearly manipulated, um, trying to manipulate it to the downside. So yeah, definitely, uh, it's not as easy to manipulate the physical market, because once someone has it in their hands, then that's that. Um, so yeah,
okay, right. So we've basically just described the silver market in general, but we want to
yeah,
go deeper into it. We want to go further. We want higher returns, even higher. So we're going to go into silver mining. Now, the current market cap for the whole silver market, I believe, is around 3 trillion. Now, out of that 3 trillion, there is a proportion of mining that is used to actually generate silver from the earth. So, where where do you see the upside potential in silver mining companies, Nathan?
yeah. So just a quick backstory on mining. So interestingly, most miners, silver's kind of a byproduct of what they do. So generally, they're looking for gold, copper, and silver's just a byproduct.
Mhm,
However, as we've mentioned, there's a lot of useful kind of industrial uses. Now, when you look at the silver mining stocks, they are generally able to make a profit at $16, $17 per ounce of silver.
mhm,
Now, if we expect prices to go up to, let's say, $50 or $100, somewhere in that range, their profits are going to increase dramatically. And there's going to be some massive upside, because what we usually see is that where prices in silver, let's say, go up 2 or 3x, prices of the silver miners go up 4 times that. So we're looking at, if it's a 2 to 3x in price in silver, then you're looking at a 8 to 12x in the price of the miners.
Okay, that makes sense. So what you're basically saying is there's a lot more potential upside in investing in silver mining than the actual silver itself.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's something to really look into. So that leads us on to the next section of the podcast, where we highlight our stock of the day. Now, the stock of the day that we've wanted to mention that we believe has got potential great upside is First Majestic
Yep.
Silver. Now, this is a mining company. Its current share price is $18.58. The market cap is 3.9 billion and its revenue is 363 million as of today. Pre-market, I believe it went up 10% today, Nathan, did it? Or...
Yeah, so it's currently trade. I just had a quick look. It's currently at $26 in the pre-market. So you can imagine from the weekend it was $18, currently at $26. So yeah, just over that 10% mark.
Wow. So pre-market is already moving at quite a big upward trend.
Yeah.
So we'll hit right on the button on this. So we believe that this has got potential to go really high. And we believe, well, I personally have invested into this myself. I'm not sure about you, Nathan.
Yeah, sure. I have. I told you about it.
What?
Come on.
Come on. Come on.
Come
All
on.
right, yeah, he did.
But just one other point on the silver miners. So AG is the ticker. First Majestic Silver, they are actually unusual in the mining companies because they are focused in on silver. So the majority of their production is actually mining silver. I think they've got about 4 mines in Mexico. They actually just overcame some tax issues as well. They're a Canadian company, very well run. They can produce a profit at $15-16 of silver. So already, prices are at $30. So as I said, they had two spikes up last week. One was on Thursday when they overcame those tax issues in Mexico, and then again today they've had a massive spike up. So a lot of upside I'm anticipating, and I wouldn't be surprised if we hit $100 from here. So that's almost a 4x in price.
4x.
4x.
4x. We're talking 4x's. So if you was to put $1,000 into an investment like this, you would receive 4,000 back.
Big dinners.
That's some big dinners, man. That
Come
is
on.
big dinners. That's what gets me excited, those returns. So yeah, that's our stock of the day, people. First Majestic Silver. Just if you've got any spare time, just look at the movement of that particular stock, and I believe you'll see why we're so excited in this particular stock today. I think that's it for today's episode. So we made it through to episode 10. Well done, Nathan, for just handling me, really. I don't know how you did it, but you did. So well done. We done well. So be on the lookout to see us more on Spotify, YouTube. Please subscribe to the channel. hit that like button and comment below. And we also are running a Tips and Signals subscription package. Now, this Tips and Signals subscription package guarantees up to 20% of your return of investment. Now, this means that if you was to put £1,000, you receive £1,200 back. Now, where are you going to get that in any retail bank, any savings account? You're not going to get it. You're getting 0.01. Yeah? So we're guaranteeing 20%. So if you like the content that you have received and you've learned something via the last 10 episodes, please continue to listen. Or if you are interested into getting tips and signals, please email tradingtrenches@gmail.com, where you receive an in-depth analysis as to what coming stocks we have on offer for the forthcoming weeks and months. You will receive signals, specifically when to trade and when to liquidize your money in your portfolio. We will hand walk you through your investment journey and guarantee 20% on your return of investment. That's it for today's episode. Just want to say thank you guys for the last 10 episodes following us on our journey, and please continue to follow us even further. We have reached Israel now. Israel, Nathan.
Shout out to our listeners out in Israel, out in Germany, Canada,
America.
Thank you. Out in America, and in the good old UK.
Yes, in the good old UK. As we continue to trade in the trenches.
Boom.
Anything to add, Nathan?
Nah, that's it for me. Cheers. Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you, guys. Take care and have a lovely Monday.
This podcast is for information and education to investors and is not financial advice. Investments and trading carry risks to your capital as well as potential rewards. If you are unsure of any investment decision, you should seek a professional financial advisor.